welcome to All Steelers Talk, your home for everything Pittsburgh Steelers, presented by allsteelers.com.
What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm Noah Schreckbein, joined every Tuesday and Thursday by my main man, Donnie Droon. We are diving deep into our thoughts, and hopefully your thoughts, on the Acrisure, say it with me, Heinz Field Stadium and everything that is and comes with it. Donnie, it's a beautiful day in the Berg. Everybody else, make sure to go subscribe to us on youtube.com/allsteelerstalk. How you feeling, my friend?
Feeling something. I think it's funny how we talked about renaming Heinz Field to whatever, and we had some really solid names. And as it turns out, what they actually got in return for Heinz Field was probably the worst amount of money anybody has ever spent naming a stadium, because that insurance company, it's an insurance company, right? Acrisure?
It's like a brokerage firm. So they like invest in technology. They like buy out technology businesses and like partner with them. I don't know.
So they paid a bunch of money to become the city of Pittsburgh's number one hated entity. And the best part is that 9.9 out of 10 Ginzers have no clue what this company is, but I am very much looking forward to hearing that Ginzer accent say Acrisure Stadium for the next 15 years.
Acrisure Stadium is, I called it Acrisure for the first day. I did a stand-up today before the Rooney press conference. I called it Acura. I was like, oh, not on purpose. That just, like, I can't Acrisure. And then we were in there, and everybody's debating, which, like, it's not a real debate because it's the same word, but they were like, is it Acrisure or Acrisure? And I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure that's the same word, different pronunciation, so we're fine there. But at the same time, stop adding to this because it's awful. It's awful. I think it's hilarious that we did have that. Shout out Connor, by the way, for giving us what should have been the new name of Heinz Field. I also believe we might have spoke this into existence, so that's on us. We take the blame. I apologize. I think, like, let's start with the money. I'm not upset about it because of the money. If you're going to get $150 million to name your stadium, rank fourth in the AFC, first in the AFC North, you're like tripling what you were getting. I'm not upset about that for a couple of reasons. I think the biggest is that you don't have to take taxpayers' dollars to make this stadium awesome. And, you know, with the name like Acrisure, that this should look like a spaceship. By the time this is done, Heinz Field should look exactly the same. But when you walk inside, you should feel like you just entered the Jetsons and everything has just blown up and we have gone 14 centuries into the future. That's how I feel.
I know, right?
If you get $150 million.
You say Acrisure, and it sounds like a luxury car. Like, ooh, the new
Exactly.
Acrisure is dropping in February 2023. You feel, but
exactly.
No, I think the money makes it make sense. I'm curious to see if any bid was submitted by Heinz to renew. But I mean, I
heard it was
the people saying today that there's still a possibility of the Steelers and Heinz working together in some capacity, which may still involve the ketchup bottles being there still.
Yep, ketchup. Art Rooney didn't shut down the ketchup bottles. I will say this. It wasn't like the ketchup bottles are going to stay. It was Joe Rutter of the Trib asking what's going to happen to the ketchup bottles. Rooney saying, well, you know, we still want to partner with Heinz. Maybe they're going to stay. It wasn't. I think it's, if your name's Acrisure, there's no way you're keeping the Heinz bottles up, right? Like, you just can't.
Yeah, I'm sure there's like certain parameters in the deal or contract they worked out with, but I don't know, man. I can't fault the Steelers for making this move. I really can't. I mean, it's much better money than their last deal that they struck with Heinz. Like I said, I'm curious to see what proposal, if any, was submitted by Heinz and how that matched up to Acrisure. But I mean, if this prevents taxpayer dollars being used on the stadium, I'm all for it. I mean, I understand Heinz Field is definitely a part of everybody's vocabulary in the city of Pittsburgh. I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. It is going to take some time to get used to saying Acrisure Stadium. But I mean,
never. Do you think you'll ever call it Acrisure Stadium?
I'm already calling it Acrisure Stadium. I'm one of maybe 4 people on this planet who have no problem with this. I will still forever buy Heinz
I don't have a
ketchup.
problem with it.
I might, dude. People.
I don't know.
Are
they have a problem with it. Yeah. I don't think I have a problem. I just still don't think like Acrisure is going to naturally come out of your mouth. You're just going to be like, oh yeah, I'm heading to Acrisure Stadium. We're going to watch the Steelers.
I'm sure Heinz Field will slip out of my mouth one time or another, but like, dude, the people are being so irrational about this new deal with Acrisure. Like, it's how did we go from Three River Stadium to Heinz Field, and everybody acts and pretends like it was so seamless. I saw a couple comments online where people were like, "Oh, like, can't wait to tell somebody. I'm so excited to go to a stadium named after insurance." Like, going to a stadium named after ketchup was any better.
I wonder. See, like, that's my question. Is I've thought about that this whole time. Is like I've never seen this. You know, like in our lifetime, we've lived through the building of Heinz Field, but we were 5 years old. So that doesn't count. Like, we didn't know what was going on. There was no social media to see what people's reaction was. You just went outside in the streets of Pittsburgh and people were like, what are you doing? Stop it. Stop. Don't put that ketchup bottle there. Like, we have no idea. It was 2001. The world was totally different. But if it was this, I mean, I'm surprised Rooney even did it. I mean, I know why he did it, but I'm like, it had to be the same thing. That's how I picture it. It's like as Three Rivers was being torn down, people were just like in the streets protesting to stop the construction of Heinz Field.
So let me ask you this, because you've been in Heinz Field far more than I have.
Once or twice.
What kind of upgrades do you think are needed for that stadium where this money can be put to good use?
Look, as much as this kills me, and like I know I'm going to be the unpopular opinion here, I know it. I think that if we're living in 2022 and your team plays in the freezing cold, and you do not have a retractable roof, you're not doing it right. You're not. Like, you don't have to have a dome. But when it's 7 degrees outside and you're fighting for a playoff game, you're telling me that's what you want going on? You're going to get the hardcore fans saying yes, but no. Ask Najee Harris if he wants that going on week 17 when they're fighting for a playoff spot and he just touched the ball 300 times.
So here's where a lot of people, probably including me, are going to disagree with you. I feel like more than anything, that's kind of part of like the identity whenever it comes with like Steelers football in December fighting for a playoff spot. If you have like a team that's not accustomed to playing in these conditions, like any team on the West Coast, a team like the Dolphins or like the Buccaneers or something, you want every advantage you possibly can, which includes playing in a freaking blizzard on Sunday night.
Yeah, but is it an advantage if you're like, what if you're playing New England? Is it an advantage?
No, then it's just level playing field from there.
Well, don't you want that level playing field to be played on dry? Like, it's a retractable roof. You get to determine when it's open, when it's closed. You know, if the Chargers are coming to town or Vegas, if the Raiders are coming to town Christmas Eve, it's snowing. Just like you're saying, I get it. Like, I definitely get it. And you're both fighting for a playoff spot still. You keep that open. You don't even think about closing that puppy. You're telling everybody all week long. You're looking Mitch Trubisky right in the eyes, and you're like, "Oh, you better get used to Kenny Two gloves because it's gonna be slippery out there. You're gonna have to get some grip on the ball." You're telling Najee Harris, "Look, I know that you're from Bama, but you're up here. You built the snowman. You're used to this. We're keeping it open." You know. But if New England's coming to town or Baltimore's coming to town, and you're like, "Well, maybe not Baltimore because of Lamar, but Cleveland's coming to town, Cincy's coming to town. You're looking at them and you're saying, yeah, well, we're going to close it. There's no need for us to suffer, to do nothing to our advantage. That's just like, it's a retractable roof. Like, and it's not even so for the players, but for the fans, because any fan, I've sat in a January game in the end zone where there's nothing blocking you. Nobody. And I don't care how diehard old school fan you are. If you're sitting there and it's 7 degrees, the wind's coming like a freight train off that river, and you got 7 layers on with a jersey on top of it, sipping some hot cocoa and a beer. You are not sitting there going, man, this is a great time. I'm enjoying myself very much. You're not. You're like, I can't believe I bought these tickets. It's the third quarter. I have to take the ferry across the river in this afterwards. I just want to go home. Get a retractable roof. That's all. This is just how I feel. This is just how I feel.
Did you see Jerome Bettis's comments on the new stadium?
I have not.
No, so it wasn't more so towards the name, but more so directed towards the atmosphere. He said that Three Rivers Stadium was basically a much better stadium in terms of environment than Heinz Field ever was, and said that people were like sitting in the stands at Heinz Field, and it just wasn't quite as electric as the presence Three Rivers Stadium provided. I thought those were really interesting comments. I can't say I disagree with him. Obviously, you have like the big time games the Steelers played there. Any of the AFC championships in recent memory, than any like the big playoff games. It can definitely get loud in there. It can for sure get loud in there. But like when you think of the NFL's like most intimidating places to play, I feel like Pittsburgh really is never brought up in that conversation.
Yeah, I don't know if I disagree. I'm not disagreeing with you. It's just that startled me. Why? Yeah, you don't think that they do? I don't know if I've had those conversations.
When you ask when you ask like the average NFL fan, like give me your top places that you would just dread going to as an opposing team, they're gonna give you the typical answers. They're gonna give you Arrowhead.
Yep.
And then they're gonna give you Seattle. Those are normally the top 2 places. You'll hear stuff like New England.
Yeah, New England.
There, and then pretty much like any like dome team that can amplify
New Orleans.
The sound. Yeah, no, for sure. New Orleans is a good one.
Dome teams. You want to amp that atmosphere up. You get people out from under the covers and into a dome where it's all echoing. Boom. According to Cypher 8, we're wrong. I think Heinz Field is a good place. Heinz Field gets wild. I think the loudest I've ever seen Heinz Field was definitely Ben's last game, the Browns game. But I don't know. I think you can make it better. I don't think it's that. I think the atmosphere is fun. It's Pittsburgh. You know what I mean? Like Steelers fans are Steelers fans. They're
I'm not questioning.
They're crazy.
The loyalty or the
I think that they can make the fan experience better. So there's a couple of things that I've noticed just sitting up in the press box. You look over to your right, and it's like over by the Fatheads, the brewery, like whatever they serve over there, and then I think it's called the Tavern or whatever. You look over to that side. Throughout the entire game, there's like 400 people just crowded there trying to get food. Seems like impossible for anybody to go sit down because you're waiting so long to get whatever you're trying to get. I think somehow you got to figure that out. I think somehow you have to give some blockage to this river because it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. It's the coldest river in the world, I'm pretty sure. I'm almost convinced of that. And you're sitting literally on top of it. Besides that, I mean, Heinz Field's old. You know, like when Rooney was talking about upgrades, he's like, last year we fixed the escalator. And I'm like, okay, that's your major upgrade. What if we added something?
Because that's towards like the open end of the stadium, right? Where like kickers just have like the worst time trying to convert field goals. And like that's bailed the Steelers out throughout the years, hasn't it?
What was that? I'm sorry. I was reading.
No, when like that open end of the stadium, that's like kind of open to the river,
Yeah.
and that you get the winds coming off the river.
Whew.
It's like crazy hard to kick in that direction, isn't it?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Boz hit the longest field goal going that way, actually. I think it was like, 51 yards, 52 yards this past season. You don't have to worry about that in a dome.
Yeah, but I also think the Steelers like still kind of like that advantage because like Heinz Field is a notorious place for kickers to just hate going there.
Yeah.
Including Justin Tucker, by the way.
Including Justin Tucker. Yeah, you're right there. You're right. And I think it would take you 2 generations of Rooneys from now to put a retractable roof above Heinz Field. But if we're being honest, I didn't think that we'd ever live in a time where Heinz Field wasn't it, you know? Like I knew that they gave a discount last year to Heinz to keep them around. And I thought that was like enough, you know? Like I was like, okay, well, if they make $3 million a year off this, like that's fine. They're still a $36 million company every year. That's not going to go away. Here we are 10. So, I mean, I don't know. Let me ask this. Did you buy that the CEO of Acrisure is actually a Steelers fan? He did drop the 16-6 1974 Super Bowl score, which was, I mean, impressive. Yeah, but right?
I don't know, bro. I don't
right?
know. If he is, good for him. But if you're making that deal just because you're a Steelers fan and only because you're a Steelers fan, I don't know. I don't know the guy. I can't judge him. There's a lot of people in the world who are Steeler fans. We just don't know. That's why we have arguably the biggest fan base in the NFL. I mean, like the Steelers, even if you don't like and watch NFL football, if you see a Steelers logo, you know what it is.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Very true. Very true. I think that's the story behind this whole thing. Does the Michigan thing bother you?
No.
Does the fact that they're from Michigan, it doesn't bother you at all?
No.
Explain that to me.
This deal is entirely transactional. Like if you're the Roonies, I could give a rat's you-know-what whether or not the highest bidder is from Pittsburgh or Michigan or California or whatever. I'm trying to make as much money as possible off of this deal. And if they're from Michigan, cool. If they're from Pittsburgh, cool. My question is for everybody complaining about the whole like Heinz no longer being involved in the stadium or like in the community. What did Heinz do for the community? And that is a genuine question.
That's
do
a
not
great
have
question.
Any knowledge. I do not have any knowledge, and I might be ignorant to it, of Heinz doing stuff within the Pittsburgh community.
Look it up.
I
agree with that.
No.
I agree. I don't know
like I said,
any.
I'm not trying to slander them. It's just I genuinely do not know.
I agree with that. I actually agree with that one. I don't think I think they just got the benefit of the doubt, you know? In 2001, it's not like people were like, oh, yeah, you're going to go help everybody else? It's just like, oh, you're willing to pay us $2.8 million? Yeah, sounds good, man. Like your ketchup company from Pittsburgh? Even better. Cool beans. Yeah, now it's just like, all right, well, like, what are you going to do? I think Acrisure is going to do a lot for the community.
You think so?
If you're willing to spend, they're a $4 billion company, which, shows me they got enough money to do some stuff. And if you're willing to pay $10 million a year, then you have the investments to say, okay, well, we're gonna make ourselves a staple of Pittsburgh, because I think that's what happens is, you're not going to just, if you make yourself a staple of Pittsburgh, your brand grows. I think that's important to the Rooneys. So I would expect them to do a lot. I hope. I don't know.
Yeah, and like Pittsburgh's different too because like out here in Phoenix, whenever they renamed it from University of Phoenix Stadium to State Farm Stadium, dude, I don't know one person that was like, "Hey, I'm going to switch my coverage to State Farm now."
Yeah.
Whereas like, you go to Pittsburgh and they take Heinz Field off of the stadium and there's playing a protest and like riots all over the streets of Twitter and dude, it's crazy.
Crazy. I think it was the name, I think it was the fact that it was just like a random company. Where do you think that line would have drawn? Like, where do you think?
See, it's funny you asked that because I saw people arguing because somebody's like, "Oh, they should have named it like UPMC, like field or stadium or whatever. Like they could have kept the Pittsburgh like connection to it." And then somebody's like, "No, like UPMC is a garbage company. Like why? Like they are
What?
not good people that run it." Yeah, apparently.
Oh, no, I've heard that as well. I mean, they do remarkable things, but I've heard that they're not the greatest humans
Yeah.
as a business.
So
That's
like,
true.
okay, well, where do you draw the line?
I think people would have problems either way. You could have named this the Steelers Stadium. People would have been like boring, but terrible. How do you feel about the Rooney thing? Though, like we should name it Rooney Field at Acrisure Stadium.
I wouldn't have a problem with that. But
Would you
that
like it?
doesn't... Sure, yeah. I like the last name Rooney is like probably the closest thing Pittsburgh has to like holiness, as opposed to like pretty much anything else. It's like royalty in that town. So, like, I have no problem with them renaming it Rooney Field. I'm certain down the line, after the lineage stops, and hopefully it doesn't, but like it will be renamed Rooney Field at some point. But like you're still gonna have that like Acrisure association and like naming with it too. So like that would be something just to kind of like make themselves feel better, I guess. I don't know. I like people are just overreacting to this, to be honest.
Oh,
And I would like to
100%.
point out, Cypher 8 has a very good comment. Rooney is their Lambo. That's 100% correct. And I do want to point out, there's been a lot of comparisons between the Packers and the Steelers the last 24 hours because of this. And everybody's like, oh, well, the Packers just have their stadium or field. It's just called like Lambeau Field. And it's like, okay, well, the Packers are a publicly traded company. That is how they make their money. The Steelers are a private entity.
Yep.
You cannot buy a share of the Pittsburgh Steelers. You can buy a share of the Green Bay Packers.
You could. So I've been thinking about buying shares of, I don't know if this is like the best idea, but I wonder what the stock market value of a brand that owns a stadium is. You know what I mean? Like right now, they're a $4 billion company. You're spending $150 million, which means that you're guessing that you're going to make more than $150 million from this stadium in the next 15 years. Do you think that's an actual thing? Do you think Steelers fans are going to spend 150? Like, where does $150 million come from? In ketchup, I could see that. I could see 100. Heinz definitely made $150 million off of Heinz Field. Does a tech company have that same pull? That might be too logical of a question, but
I mean, maybe
like we might not be the right audience for this.
Nah, not at all. I think that's far beyond my pay grade. But I think in 2022, when everything is advancing towards like the technological world, I mean, if you're gonna bank on any company to make money, it's probably gonna be a company in tech, right?
That's what I would guess. Oh, as soon as they said that they've invested in all these places, I was like, oh, well, these guys are smart, at least minimum. Gone away from a ketchup company. Talk about a jump. Nobody's acknowledging that one. The Steelers went from ketchup to Acrisure.
They're not public yet, Acrisure, so like they're not trading for anything right now on the open market.
Well, there goes all my hopes and dreams. I was looking to become a millionaire off of Acrisure.
As of March 8th, 2022, they were valued as a business at $17.5 billion.
$17.5
billion, according to...
Dude, they were worth $4 billion last year. That's $13.5 billion. Billion dollars. Think about how many zeros that is.
It's a lot of zeros.
That's wild.
A lot of donuts, brother.
That's crazy. Started 9 years ago. They were a $34 million company. In 10 years, they've increased their value by what? 13.4. No, I don't know. Billions. Billions of dollars. That's insane. That's actually insane. So that would be just about more than $17 billion that they've increased in 9 years. So they know what they're doing. Those are the type of people that build spaceships for stadiums. I'm all about it. I got no worries. I got no issues.
Yeah, but do you think Heinz Field's going to turn into a spaceship, bro? Because I don't.
No, but I think the inside's going to look a lot more like spaceshipy. Old school spaceshipy. Like, not like it's really hard to look like Vegas. You know, you've been in Vegas.
Oh, dude, that stadium's crazy. If anybody ever has the opportunity to go, I 100% recommend it.
But that's okay. So there's the thing, and that's been a little bit of my argument through this whole thing is I get the culture, the history, whatever, but if you have an opportunity to come to Pittsburgh, because the Raiders are the Raiders, but they're in Vegas now, so that's a different story. If you have an opportunity to come to Pittsburgh, and on top of that, you're like, you know, our generation, it's like, oh, very cool, you know, history here, whatever. If somebody was like, dude, take the Raiders stadium, put it in Pittsburgh, I'm going to be like, well, I'm going to that. 100% I'm going to that. And I think that there's tens of thousands of people that would agree with me on that. I just think it opens a whole new gate of opportunity. I don't think the Roonies are going to be looking for that, but I'm going to say that I don't think they're going to be super against it once people start laying numbers out, you know? Yeah. Like, I don't think anybody's going to be like, oh, well, you know, let's put a little amusement park in the back. It'll probably make us $1 billion. Art Rooney's going to be like, you know what? I'm good on that $1 billion. I just don't. I think at the end of the day, money's money. It talks loud. And a $17.5 billion company understands money quite well.
Yep.
Well enough to, you know, and plus they're a tech company. So, like, do you think a tech company is going to live with the old, I guess?
No, but like I also don't think that's their job. You know, I think this relationship is purely like transactional in terms of, hey, we're paying a boatload of money for you to say Acrisure Stadium anytime you reference it, and that's kind of it. Yeah. I don't have any expectations for that company to go to Heinz Field and kind of look around with the Roonies and say, oh, you know, we could probably like change this or change that, because like that's not part of the deal. You don't think it is for them? But like, no, dude, no. This is all just like naming rights stuff. At least I would believe.
Yeah, but in the contract it said that I could pull it up. In the contract it said that it will include like stuff like that, like improvements to the stadium and so forth. With the agreement, Acrisure will invest in the stadium and community with initiatives aimed to providing a deep connection for Acrisure in the Pittsburgh community. I don't know what that means, but
that tells me
I would take that as they're gonna do something, you know? Like, maybe. At least that's what I would imagine where that money's going. So I guess
you'd hope so.
I guess you're right. This was a big one that was brought up today at the Rooney press conference as the Steelers lease goes through 2035, which is only 12 seasons away. Rooney made it sound like they're going to be fine. They're going to stay. Do you think that's a guarantee?
That the Steelers stay in Pittsburgh or at Heinz Field?
No, definitely in Pittsburgh, but in the North Shore, where they're located now.
I mean,
I don't know where else you could build a stadium.
There's no reason for them to move.
Well, their lease is up in 12 seasons, which will have 3 seasons.
Lease, right?
Yeah, they could, but the stadium would be 20 years old. You think that's a guarantee? I don't think that's a guarantee.
I don't think it's a guarantee, but like it would make a lot more sense for them to stay at Heinz Field, because I highly doubt they're going to want to build another stadium like super quickly.
Yeah, I don't know about super quickly, but you know, if you hit that 10-year mark or whatever, I don't know how long stadium. I feel like Vegas has got built quite fast. I don't know how long stadiums get built.
Vegas needed to house an NFL franchise.
Yeah,
and Vegas,
but I think
Vegas already didn't have a franchise with an established stadium that was built in the early 2000s too. You know, and you also got to think like that stadium is used for like far more than just Raider games too, man.
But think about it with Pittsburgh. There's a financial benefit to everything. I think that there's a possibility that
Sure,
in
but like
12 years that it
the
gets
draw
ripped
for
down.
Vegas, the draw for Vegas compared to the draw to Pittsburgh, like that's not comparable.
No, definitely not. I agree with that. I don't think you could build a Vegas. What is Vegas is called? I don't think you could build a Vegas in Allegiant State. I don't think you could build that in Pittsburgh. I think that's like way too much. You have to keep it a Pittsburgh-sized upgrade. But I think that if you
Heinz Field, there I go again. Acrisure Field.
it took 14 minutes.
Whatever it's called. 60, how much? 60 something thousand? Somewhere around
the
there?
stadium? I believe it's 68.
68,000. That's solid, right? I mean, it's not like over the top crazy, but
I agree. I think that before 15 years, I think you could not make it bigger, but I think you could either rebuild it, which I know sounds crazy, but I think it could happen, or just in 15 years, you could see crazy adjustments to this stadium, like crazy. Maybe keep it the same size, but just
Pitt
like
too, because they shared a stadium with Pitt throughout the season.
Yeah, which Pitt. I mean, if anything, you should make Pitt's stadium smaller and make it look like it's more filled. But
I would agree.
Yeah, like they should play at PNC Park, if we're being honest, and like just make it look like everything's fine. But I think in 15 years, I mean, it would be very difficult to rebuild that and try to get it either done quick enough within an off season, which is impossible, or spend a year like playing elsewhere, which I also think would be impossible. But I think at some point, at that point, you'll be 30 years old, 35 years old. Like it might be time to catch up, It was just built right on that line. That's how I look at it. Like right on that line of like old stadiums starting to become new, and now we're taking that next jump. And they were right behind that, where they're just like chilling at old,
Not to let you know, so the two more recent stadiums built out here, like out west, so like State Farm Stadium, which opened in 2006, and then Allegiant Stadium, which opened in 2020, both are smaller than Heinz Field capacity-wise.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Allegiant Stadium is smaller than
65,000. Then Acrisure Stadium is at 68,400.
Wow.
The more you know.
I would have never guessed that. Yeah, but that's just all flair, It's all fan experience. You're going in there for way more than a football game, which I don't think the Steelers want, but I think they would like to have some of.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think the Steelers would want that, but I think they would like a little bit more, Like my fiance would never come to a Steelers game. I mean, like she would, but she wouldn't have fun like watching the game. She'd have fun like exploring the stadium. And I think that if there was cooler things like that, then like you'd get a different crowd. So I think those will all be there at some point. I don't know. This is the beginning. I didn't think any of this a week ago.
A lot of people complain about like the older generation at Heinz Field either not showing up to games and letting their tickets go to waste, or yelling at everybody to sit down during like big moments. What do you think of that?
If you tell me to sit down at a sporting event, and it's been a while since I've been rowdy at a sporting event, if I'm a true hardcore fan and it is the heat of the moment, and you're telling me to sit down, you're lucky I don't donkey kick you in the teeth.
No, I'm not talking like first play of the game. I'm talking like game
heat of the moment
in the fourth quarter. Yeah,
donkey kick right in the teeth, upper teeth. You're not even getting lower teeth. You're losing the big two right in the front. Oh, easy. Don't ever say that. Why would you say? Why? Stand up. Like just stand. Obviously, the energy is not to be sitting down and enjoying this game. It's to be screaming your face off to try and help your team. It's like a job. You didn't buy that ticket to be an observer. You bought that ticket to be part of this. So be part of this. I don't know. My answer is easy. I donkey kick him right in the face. What would you do?
I don't know. I'd probably just like ignore them. Probably. I don't think I have it in me to like donkey kick somebody behind me.
I know you'd be
I
standing
don't
there
know.
just staring straight red while I'm behind, turned around trying to fight this old lady.
I'm a sucker for like really cool environments and like just like taking in like the atmosphere of like live games. But I know a lot of people, especially nowadays, with the luxury of instant replay and being in the comfort of their own home, would prefer to watch a game on TV as opposed to going to a live sporting event. I don't agree
Yeah,
with them, but like I get it to certain
no,
extents.
I get it. I get it. I get it. I mean, if we're being real, I'm at the point now where like I don't know if I didn't have to work, like, and because in our jobs, especially mine, you have to like remove yourself during the season to, from your fandom. If I could go back and be a hardcore Steelers fan and go sit in a seat, I would do that as much as possible. But, like the Super Bowl, like people were like, oh, I'd rather go to this. Like, no, I'd rather sit in a comfy chair with like 4 slices of pizza on my lap and just like yell while sitting down. Easy.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh,
That
dude, I
not
would
see
love to be
that
at the
would
Super Bowl,
change.
man.
No, I don't think I would want to be at the Super Bowl. Don't think I would.
Get me in the nosebleed for a Super Bowl. I would love it.
Yeah?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
I think I would like to be at like I'd go to like a national championship game, like especially basketball. I think I'd rather be at a basketball game. I like basketball environments are wild. Just insane.
No, not for sure. I was at the last national championship game out here in Phoenix whenever they had it.
Oh yeah?
Crazy.
How was that?
Crazy. Oh, it was super fun. I went by myself. My wife
That's awesome.
used to work like security at the Cardinal Stadium, which is like where it was hosted. So like I
Yeah.
didn't have anybody else to go with, so I just like bought a ticket to myself, like the cheapest one possible.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
so cool, actually. Like I admire that. I'm telling you, I think that would be the event I chose. It's like
See,
or like
I
Game
went-
7 of the finals.
I covered the Pac-12 championship game at Allegiant Stadium, and
These two.
the environment was pretty crazy because there was like a lot of Utah fans there because that was like the first time they like had a chance to go to the Rose Bowl in a while. There's a lot of Utah fans there, and then like media-wise, in the press box, super crazy. They have entire sections for like home and away, like literal like. I can't even tell you how big the press box is, but the food spread there, the luxury dining at Allegiant Stadium, my brother, chef's kiss.
Oh, I
Chef's
can only
kiss.
imagine. You know me, bro. You know me. For 4 years, I focused on little more than the food options on Sundays. They're my favorite things. You want to talk about a game? There ain't nothing like walking in and they're like, piece of prime rib. And I'm like, oh, I did
Yeah,
just eat
I'll take
breakfast.
it.
But yes,
Oh,
I
more?
believe so. More, yeah. Seconds,
Unlimited
I'll eat
fountain
seconds.
drinks and desserts and cookies. Yeah,
Oh,
I'll take that.
desserts. Yeah, I'll take 7 brownies and a cup full of chips to my seat. Certainly, I'll come back for
And
my
then
4th
end
coffee
the
by
food,
halftime.
and then at like halftime or like whatever, they bring out like popcorn, or, like hot dogs, and like other snacks.
Dude, the hot, yeah, because at that point you're like, all right, I'm sick and I have like 8 more hours of work to do, and you're walking out there and you're like, yeah, I'll take a hot dog and 4 chicken tenders and a bag of chips, easy, sitting down with a Mountain Dew, and then you go back to your seat after that after eating more dessert, and you're like sweating at this point, your suit's coming undone.
Crazy part for you. I went to the Rose Bowl to cover ASU UCLA game last year. They did not have any like
Nope,
press food.
I would have left.
You had to. They
would've
gave
left.
you a voucher to go to one of like the restaurants inside the stadium. For a
And
meal.
what?
Yeah,
No.
crazy.
Nah, I'd be like, this isn't even. Why am I here? Are you going to reimburse me for this? Like for the drive? Because I am in need of food. That's how I survive. That's how humans live. That's ridiculous. I was talking to Chris Halleck. Shout out our boy Chris Halleck. He was telling me that the Texans don't feed you. They do feed you, but you have to pay. It's $12 to eat in the press box. Dude, 12. Could you imagine showing up for work and they're like, here, pay me money? I'd be like, no, I'm here to make money.
I was complaining about Arizona State feeding us like boxed lunches. And
Dude,
stuff.
I'd rather
That's
take
terrible.
bologna and cheese straight out the
Yeah.
bag. Yeah, couldn't believe it. When I heard that one,
Crazy.
that's
Crazy.
ridiculous. But, you could do weirder things, man. You could do weirder things. You could just eat bologna and salami the entire game, straight out of bag, just munching on it. All right, we're heading out of here. We've talked enough about Acrisure Stadium. We appreciate everybody for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk, and follow us anywhere you get your podcasts. We'll be back on Thursday. Get over the name change. It's all going to be okay. Enjoy your time. Peace.